Are we there? Oh, hey. Are they there? Are we here? Are we on? Fabulous. Yes, we're rolling. Hello and welcome to the short answer. It's a little crazy here in Indiana where hurricanes don't happen and earthquakes don't happen, but something's happening here in this moment, and I don't know what it is. So I am welcoming you to the short answer, those of you that are here for the first time. It is our great pleasure to plug in and have a bit of a conversation that will allow you to understand some of the flavor of what it is that we talk about inside the Energy Codes coursework and through the courses that we teach through Morter Institute of a varied fashion. So there are many things. What I'm thrilled about is we have the yoga teacher that is part of the yoga teacher training with me here this evening, and she has no idea I'm going to do this here. You're going to bend over and you're going to wave at everybody. So that's it. So she's taller than you. I have to. Yeah. So Lily Kessler, an amazing individual, and an amazing contribution to what we share at the Institute. So I'll say a little bit more about that, but I won't make you squat the whole time. So thank you. Thank you. So what the yoga teacher training is about is teaching you a deeper understanding about why you would go to yoga. And you may be thinking, I don't go to yoga. And so what I would love for you to do is to consider going to a yoga class. And what I would really love for you to do is to learn why that is an integral part of you awakening to your true essence, your true essential self. What happens inside of a yoga class when you bring consciousness to it about embodiment is that you start to open up this central channel and you start to breathe your own essence in a way that normal life and typical exercise just doesn't create for you. It doesn't create the scenario in which you can connect the dots of bringing the mind onto the body and merging it with the breath so that the breath can infuse itself into areas of your body that it hasn't before. And when that begins to happen, you start to enliven and awaken the tissues of your system that carry vibrational frequencies in them, that when they are not awake and enlivened, they are not making a contribution to your ability to make good decisions in life, for your ability to feel anchored and grounded and connected to nature, and for your ability to sense that deep wisdom that is inside of you, that is actually the real you, and your mind never gets to know that real you until we start to merge them, weave them together. And so yoga is such a beautiful place for you to practice that. So if you're sitting down right now, I'm going to invite you to just stand up for a moment. Just stand up. And as you stand up, I want you to roll forward onto your toes. Just lean forward. And now lean back onto your heels instead. Lean back onto your heels instead. And now start to sense inside your body that there is actually an openness that occurs when you lean back onto your heels, and feel that inside the body start to close down as you lean forward. As you lean forward, something kind of compresses. And when you lean back, it kind of opens. And now in that opened state inside this central channel, just take a deep breath. Just take a breath in your belly and exhale down into the earth. And then take a breath from, while you're still leaning back, take a breath from in the earth, just up through your body. And exhale right out through the top of your head. And take a deep breath in and exhale. And have a seat. And know that you just did yoga. Okay? It's done. That's yoga. All right? So it's a simple little exercise. But what I want you to understand is that when we put the body in certain positions, certain openings happen in different channels. Now that is nothing compared to what I would really love for you to learn in yoga. And I didn't even plan on talking about yoga until I saw you guys sitting here. It's like, yoga, here we are. So we teach a yoga teacher training that emphasizes what we're supposed to be doing with embodiment practices while you're in a yoga class, even if the yoga teacher that is teaching the class that you're in doesn't understand what we're talking about regarding the embodiment of consciousness as the very purpose of yoga in the first place. So many of you that have been in the coursework know that when I first had my awakenings occurring, I was not practicing yoga at that time. And yet I would wake up in the middle of the night in certain yoga poses that I didn't ever know that my body could get into. And in fact, when I would try to, during the day, share what was happening to me in the middle of the night with people, I couldn't even get my body into those positions consciously and intentionally. But when my conscious mind was shut off and I was flourishing in this awakening and enlivenment, is that a word? Enlivenment? That was happening in my body was moving into certain sacred geometries, and those sacred geometries were a byproduct of how the energy was coursing through this body. So I knew then that yoga was something I was going to have to explore, and it has been transformational in my life. It has been transformational in the lives of everyone that I know that has engaged in it, and certainly in the combination of the Energy Codes coursework through the BodyAwake Yoga Teacher Training that we're doing, that Lily and I are doing together. It is truly a treasure chest of information. Even if you're never going to be a yoga teacher, many people are taking it not because they're going to teach yoga, but because they want to understand the depths behind every time I say what I say when I'm teaching a yoga class. They want to understand what it is that they can do for themselves in that same arena. And that actually kind of brings me to the topic that I kind of anticipated speaking about today, because I'm doing a focus care program right now in Indianapolis at the center, and there are some lovely individuals here that I get the honor of working deeply with several times a day. And we've been in conversation today a little bit about having the circuitry to embrace our magnificence. Like, the reason that we don't know our own true self, our true magnificence, the magnitude of our being, is because we don't have the circuits in place to be able to interpret the truth of who we are. It's like if I were to say to you, the only reason that you don't know God is because you don't have the circuits in place to know God. Now, that's a pretty lofty statement, but it's the truth. And actually, it's been revealed to us in sacred texts from around the globe that we cannot behold something until we are embodying it, until we develop what we have misinterpreted as worthiness, and was originally intended to mean fitness, to be fit to perceive it, to be fit to interpret it, which means we don't have the language. We just don't have ourselves aligned and integrated in a manner that can be possible for us to interpret. And I want to explain what I mean by this essential self and by this God presence and etc. Because this is the short answer, and it's not a deep teaching, but it's a cut to the chase kind of moment that I want to share with you. And that is that the reason that I'm interested in this is that I want you to get that you are destined to be great. You're built of greatness. You're made of greatness. And inside of that greatness is goodness. You're made of goodness. And if you put goodness in magnitude, and you have this greatness of being, but you don't allow yourself to perceive yourself as such, then you never get to experience your greatness. You get to experience the version of you that is trying, that is efforting, that is creating pressure for themselves, that creates a difficult life, when we can talk about the idea that everything is good, everything that is happening is in your favor, and there's this flow that's going through your life, and it's always in support of you awakening to your own magnificence. But then when it comes time to do X, Y, Z, to meet that deadline, or to pay those bills, or to show up to a conversation that's difficult for you to do, all that theory goes out the window, and we're like, why me? Why? How could I be in this situation? How do I get out of this situation? It's just horrible. And the reason that it feels horrible is because we don't have the circuits in place to interpret this theory when the rubber hits the road. And the Energy Codes coursework, of course, is about teaching you how to build that circuitry so that when the rubber hits the road and you're in real time and it's on your face and you're in it, you can have the wherewithal to remember that this is just part of my practice ground. This is just part of what I have requested at some higher level for this life experience for me to work through. And here's what I want you to get. You would never have requested it if you couldn't handle it. You would only ever request what you're ready to evolve through next. That's why you're here. So everything that is happening is 100% in favor of you admitting your magnificence, period. That's it. It's the only thing that's going on. It's like, how soon are you willing to admit that you have what it takes, that this flow is in your favor and it's in support of you. And while you're contemplating that, life keeps moving and the evidence keeps rushing past you or rushing right into your life. And it might feel like pressure because you're digging your heels in. So if it feels to you like time is picking up speed and that you don't have as much time to process things as you used to, and you don't know what to do, it just seems like everything is going and going and going. And if it feels like that to you, I promise you what's happening is you are digging your heels in and not participating with the evidence that is here to show you you can handle it. It wouldn't be happening if you couldn't handle it. It would not be happening. So what we have to do is build the circuitry to have what we currently would call courage, or what I say, I previously would have called it courage, but now I call it freedom. It's not that I'm being courageous, it's that I'm stepping into the yes that is intended for me. And as I do that, it feels like, yes, things are moving rapidly, but it actually feels inside of my experience like they're in slow motion. Because I'm so completely present with something as it's happening, I get infused into every detail of it, and it actually, you know how an athlete would describe how they do this outstanding performance when they're being interviewed. When they're in the zone, they say that it feels like the whole thing happens in slow motion. Because they're in their non-thinking mind, is basically what I'm getting at. They're not in their thinking mind, they're in their presence mind, their mind of presence. And that mind of presence is not the analytical mind. It is the part of you that has always known that you're okay, and that will always be delivering that okayness. And here's the deal. Right now, the way our circuitry is built, it's not built this way, but it's the way we're using it. Right now, the way we're using our circuitry is in alignment with the best way for you to feel what I'm describing is for you to look behind you, look back and see how you are progressing in your life, how you are handling things better today than you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 4 years ago. That you might be in the same circumstances again, but you're not the same you in those circumstances. You're evolving. So if you're going to do any measuring, do not measure ahead. Measure from behind. Follow? So the point is this, that we don't want to create pressure. We want to create celebration. And one of the ways to do that is to measure from looking back instead of measure looking ahead. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have a focus ahead. It just means that you are focused ahead in an unwavering fashion. But if you're going to get into your analytical mind, you have to look in the rearview mirror for that, to monitor how far you have come, how you have evolved, what is happening for you currently, and to celebrate the fact that you're not freaking out over the kinds of things that a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago that might have toppled you, that might have created a really big wobble in your system. And secondly, I want to ask this question. You know, I ask this question when I'm in front of audiences, thousands of people every month. I ask this question. How many of you feel like you're about to step through a threshold, that you're about to awaken, that you're almost just ready to like drop in or to open up or to some light to come on or for something to be revealed to your consciousness? And I can ask in this room as well. I'm asking you, how many of you feel like that's about to happen, that there's this impetus of something about to birth in you, about to step through a threshold? Anybody? Or is it just me? Okay, good. So here's the deal. The reason we feel like there's something about to happen is because we don't have the circuits in place to monitor that it is currently happening, that it's already happening, that it's happening. In fact, if we're really going to build some subtle circuitry, it has already happened. It's already happened, right? It's history. So this is one of the reasons I'm having you get into the habit of measuring backwards, because when you're looking that way in celebration, you're likely to build some circuits in here that will translate into you when you look forward and when you ultimately are resting yourself in presence. Because when we're not needing to measure, we don't have to look back. And when we're not trying to calibrate something, we don't have to look ahead. When we are not looking and living in the future, and we're not looking and living in the past, it frees up an incredible amount of energy that allows us to build circuits for the present moment, which is the only thing that is real. The only thing that is ever real is what is happening in this moment. And I'll tell you, it isn't what's happening in your outer world in this moment. The only thing that is actually real is what is happening in your inner world in this moment, period. Because the outer world is also history. It is a byproduct, a reflection of your projection of what is going on in the inner world. But until we awaken in the third eye and can see and sense and know this inner realm with the same level of detail that we can see and sense and read signs in the outer world, until then, we have to project our reality to the outer world so that we can get some feedback on how we're doing in aligning this inner world. But until we connect the dots and recognize that what we're seeing in the outer world is a reflection of what's going on in my inner world, until we connect those dots, we get distracted into believing that the outer world is real. And so then we are left with this idea that something's good is about to happen. I feel like I'm about to learn something that's going to connect the dots, integrate this piece, ground it, land it for me. Something's about to happen. And so if we want to move from about to happen to happening to actually, ultimately, it's already done. And to be able to live that in real time in the physical world, not just sit on a mountaintop and say, it's already done. This is it. There's nothing else. You know, that's not enough when it comes time to, is it already done that my bills got paid? Yeah. Is that already done? Did somebody take care of that for me? You know, we are living here now for a reason. It's because we're evolving consciousness and we're putting that stillness into motion. But it has to be awake, alive, and well, and the circuits need to be in place for us to be able to monitor that as we go. So if you're feeling like something's about to happen in your life, like you're just about to put the pieces together, I'm going to invite you, as you're falling asleep tonight, to imagine that it has already been done. And inquire within and notice how the energy is moving through your body, that it is already done. Take your attention inward and notice what pattern the energy is allowed to flow in now that you have released the confines of your belief system that hold it as something that is going to happen at some point in the future. Because the future does not exist. By the time it gets here, it's now, right? We know that piece. So we have to build the circuitry for the future to be alive on the inner realm now, as though it has already occurred, because it has. You agreed to come into this life to awaken to your magnificence, and you devised a plan that would be the perfect process for you to do so. And it has been playing out in your life all along. The good news is, by design, the game that you constructed had an automatic injection of victory any point along the way. No penalties for early collection of your trophy. No penalties, okay? It's okay. You don't have to pay extra interest just because you had your aha today. So it's important that we start building the circuitry to recognize that it is already done, because, my friends, it is. When I was in that exalted state, there was nothing to accomplish. There was nowhere to go. And I knew in that instant that the rest of my life was going to be devoted to building the circuitry, to sustain, to maintain, to live that every day, all the time, constantly and consistently, to begin to identify as that ray of light that was in that exalted state, not try to recoup it for the rest of my life, not think about it for the rest of my life, but to live it, to be it. And so I'm always looking for ways to bridge the gap for people. When I hear what they have to say, when I see what the obstacles are, when I see how they're starting to interpret and transform their lives step by step by step. And this was something that felt very important today to share with you. Another thing that I would like to say is that this unfolds as an unfolding reality. It isn't a moment and then it's done, for most. It was a moment, and so it was with me. But the next decade after that became completely focused on, okay, how do I relive that? How do I get back into that? How do I embody that? How do I embody that? And that's what the energy codes are about. So I retro-engineer them and walk you through the processes, constantly listening for the cues and the clues that I can help you weave that together. That is my purpose. We are sitting at a sacred time right now. And the point that I want to make about this is to not create pressure for yourself, but to know that each moment, each breath, each situation, each relationship dynamic, each moment that you are living life, you have the opportunity to bring this concept into reality, to embody it. It isn't something that's a one-shot deal, and the longer you're waiting for that one-shot deal to occur, the longer it will take for it to occur, because you'll constantly be rebuilding the circuitry for almost there. So let's allow today to be the beginning of sacred practice, because we're moving into the holy days, and we are moving into the holidays, the holy days, Diwali, Kwanzaa, Thanksgiving, the Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's. We are there. This is the indigenous New Year right now. We are in it, the abundance, the revelation, it's here. And what's starting to happen from this moment on is the energy on the planet begins to align in such a way that your nervous system and your electromagnetic energy system have a better chance of capturing a greater sense of your truth, and you stepping in to the almost and making it be here now than any other time of the year. It is upon you, it is now. So I'm going to invite you to join us in the masterclass, because we're going to weave everything toward that conversation that comes up in this class this evening, and to allow you to celebrate the true magnificence of your being in a way that is not possible any other time of the year. This season that we are moving into is rich and golden with possibility and potentiality. You're going to be seeing an advertisement coming out just to expose you, remind you about the enlightened holidays. I'll be adding some things to it again this year. I'm always adding something to it, but I'm taking all of those celebrations into account and giving you a deep, rich understanding as to why every indigenous culture around the globe celebrates at this time of the year. It is imperative that we capture this. It is a gift. It is the greatest gift that has ever been given to all of humanity, no matter what their political situations are, no matter what craziness that feels like, no matter what their religious circumstances are, no matter what their socioeconomic circumstances are. The fact is, every one of us has this moment as a gift, and it is time that we learn to build the circuits to receive and perceive that magnificence. So I invite you into the master class in the next few moments. We're going to plug in and start up at the top of the hour, and I look forward to seeing you there. And I'm headed this Friday to Omega in New York. If you want to just hop in the car, those of you that are in the Northeast, and zip up to Rhinebeck, New York. It's going to be fantastic, speaking at the Energy Psychology Conference, speaking 3 different times in that conference. I'm thrilled about that. So many things happening. Some great news coming your way. I can't say anything about it yet, but we have a very huge thing that probably within the next month or so you'll be hearing from us about something that's wonderful, beautiful for the energy code. So blessings to you all. I look forward to seeing you in just a few moments in the masterclass. Namaste.